Welcome back. Will Worsham joins us now for this week's Speaking Legal discussion. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too.
We just went through the 3-day weekend. How was yours?
Mine was really good. Yeah, we had a really good time. I always have a judges conference the weekend before up at Lodge of the Four Seasons, so we were up there, and I got to give a little presentation to the municipal judges of Missouri about using technology in the courtroom.
Oh, I thought maybe you were going to show them how to do ribs. Or
I was about to say, please tell me you threw something on the smoker.
Ribs, taekwondo, whatever. No, we talked about some apps that you can use on your phone that can help you in the courtroom when you're a judge, and we talked about.
So are we going to see judges sitting at the bench doing this all the time?
Well, no, actually, one of the things that I showed them was a translation app that I use a lot of times when I travel, because sometimes we have defendants appearing in our courts that maybe English is their second language.
Sure.
And, for certain purposes, you have to have a court-certified translator.
Sure.
But if it's just a little matter of kind of making sure maybe some things are understood, sometimes if you use a little app, you can say, okay, yeah, I think, we understand. Because as judges, we want to make sure that the people in front of us understand what's going on. It's one of the most important things.
I would think, yeah.
Good point.
So you had the conference, and then this weekend, did you...
Birthday parties for the kids and stuff. So we have two sons that have birthdays right around Memorial Day, so it's always a lot of that. And
do the big soiree. That's where I saw the lights in the distance.
Yeah, that was that.
Fireworks.
Yeah. So we did smoke some for that. Yeah.
Good deal. You smoked some meat for that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yum. Why don't you bring me some? Just clear.
I wasn't going to go there, but
no,
you probably need to put that out right away.
Keep it illegal right here.
Yeah.
Next time, bring some brisket if you wouldn't mind.
All right.
Or we're not going to correct it next time.
That's right.
Say that.
All right.
I'll let that one go.
Feed
You ready for the question?
Sure, let's do that.
Probably jump right in. I've been told by friends that if I'm stopped for DWI, I should refuse a breath test. I've also heard that you can't. What's the best plan?
Okay. Well, we've kind of covered this a couple of times, but hey, let's dive in again. So, refusing a breath test, first of all, let's not get in that situation to begin with, right? We don't want to be there.
Yeah.
But if it comes up, refusing a breath test, I think, is a choice. If you're going to pass it, by all means, take it. Right? If you're not going to pass it, you just need to be aware of what can happen when you refuse a breath test, because refusing a breath test in Missouri can get your license revoked for a year, just for refusing the test.
Really?
Yeah, you don't even if no criminal case is ever filed, just refusing the breath test under Missouri's implied consent law is going to get your license revoked for a year. So understand what the consequences can be before you make that decision.
If you just decide, I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
Then know that you could be opening yourself up for a ton of trouble if you don't do it.
And in addition to that, the next part of that, I've heard that you can't. You can always refuse, but as we talked about before, some Missouri counties, Green and Christian being a couple of them, that's Springfield and Ozark, they have adopted a no refusal policy. And what that means is if you refuse to submit to a breath test, which you can do, they've got a prosecutor and a judge assigned to be on call basically 24 hours a day. They'll fill out a form, basically a formed request for a search warrant, apply for a search warrant to the judge signs it and authorizes the officer to seize your blood.
A blood test.
And so they'll draw blood, and then they'll get your blood alcohol content that way. We're still kind of in the process of making sure that that's all okay. It probably is. That process probably is. There's another little tweak to it that we're kind of looking into, which is if you decide, well, if you're going to stick me with the needle, I'm going to give you a breath test, now maybe that's coercion, and we have to look at that issue too. So that's something we're waiting for the case law to develop on, and I'm sure we'll get a case on it someday.
So you say there's somebody there like 24/7 that can get this warrant in place. What do you do that whole time? Sit in the back of the police car?
Well, it honestly doesn't usually take that long, but yeah, you're in custody the whole time. Now, every time this question of refusal comes up, I'm always a little baffled when clients come to me, and I guess maybe I'm not, because I understand it happens all the time. People routinely will refuse that breath test after they've already done the field sobriety tests ahead of time, and that is very inconsistent to my mind as a lawyer. If you're going to refuse the field sobriety test.
The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The horizontal gaze and nystagmus test, that's where they do the eye test and the walk and turn. There's no penalty for refusing that. They don't take your license because you refuse to do field sobriety tests. So if we're going to not cooperate, if we're going to not give the officer the evidence that he's looking for, we shouldn't do those either.
Yeah. It always strikes me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but when I hear questions like this, I think, all right, this person has never been in this situation.
It's probably true.
And they think that if you refuse to take the test, the officer is going to go, All right.
Okay.
And walk away, and that's not going to happen.
No, that's not going to happen. In Missouri, if your refusal to take a breath test is evidence in court of intoxication. So a prosecutor can argue to a judge or jury at a trial, hey, the only reason somebody would refuse a breath test is because they knew they were going to fail. And they're allowed to do that. Normally, the Constitution protects you from self-incrimination.
Right.
So if you refuse to, like you have the right to remain silent, a prosecutor cannot argue to a judge or jury, well, they wouldn't talk to the police, therefore they must be guilty. They can't do that. That's unconstitutional. So this one exception is refusing a breath test, and it's by Missouri law, and that has been upheld through higher courts, that it is constitutional to make that argument. I don't know that I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But that's the law of the land, and we're not going to change it anytime soon.
And again, as you said, the easiest thing to do is just to avoid this issue altogether.
It's just not worth it.
It's not worth it. If you got a cab every day of your life, you probably wouldn't reach the potential penalties that you would have.
Well, it's not just the penalties. We defend a lot of people on DWIs, and we're very successful in what we do, but we're very expensive. It costs a lot just to hire us to get out of that situation.
I was including you in the penalty.
You were,
I
okay.
see, yeah. Just
I
wanted you
typically
to
think of myself as a penalty, but I'll go with
But
it.
I mean, the price, you get it. No
The price you pay.
offense. Lawyers are expensive. All right. If you have a legal question for Will, email it at wworsham@color10.com. He will answer your question on the show.
Good to see you again.
Good to be here. Thank
We'll
you.
be right back.